Hello, my name is Christopher Duran, and I want to speak to you today about the human tablets that can be used or can't be used for dog arthritis treatment. Humans and dogs both share the pain of arthritis, and it's a reasonably common mistake that people make to assume that the medications that we use for dogs are also safe for people, or vice versa. While many of these drugs share common properties, there are a lot of side effects that are what we call species specific, which means that there are certain properties of some of these drugs that are okay for people but can be quite damaging to dogs. So despite the large list of human arthritis medications, there really are only a few that have been safely used in animals, dogs in particular. And just a word of warning, don't use any of these medications unless you speak to a vet in cats. Cats are super sensitive to a lot of the medications, and you would be well advised not to use them at all unless you speak to your vet. So the common categories of arthritis medications: there's anti-inflammatories, and these are the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, or the steroid or cortisone anti-inflammatories. There are painkillers, and by that we mean the opioid or morphine type painkillers, and there's a few other types of painkillers that work in different pathways. There's the disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drugs, or the DMARDs. And then there's another group called the biological DMARDs, which are quite fancy and quite expensive in most cases. The two last groups I mentioned, the DMARDs, are really not a good choice for dogs. They are mainly used for rheumatoid arthritis and similar conditions in people. And although we do see rheumatoid arthritis in dogs, it's actually pretty rare. So we don't really use these drugs very commonly. So today I'm going to focus on the anti-inflammatories and the painkillers that can be used in dogs. I'm not going to give you a big list. I'm just going to talk about the ones you can use in dogs that you can use in people as well. So firstly, aspirin. Aspirin was, and probably is still, the most common anti-inflammatory in the world. It's a reasonably safe medication for short-term use, but it's only moderately effective and shouldn't really be used for long-term arthritis control. The dose of aspirin is 10 to 25 milligrams per kilogram, and this can be given every 12 hours, and it's best given with food. It's very important. The other thing with aspirin is that if you use it even once, you can't use any of the fancier or more effective veterinary non-steroidal anti-inflammatories for about 2 weeks. That's a long time. A lot of people get tempted, it's late at night, their dog's sore and stiff, and they want to do something about it, and they've got some aspirin on the shelf. So they'll give that in all good faith, but they're then ruling out some other quite potent medications for use over the next 2 weeks that your vet may prescribe. So be careful about using aspirin. Aspirin, as you know, can cause stomach ulcers if it's used too frequently. The second drug is called meloxicam, and the human name is Mobic. It's a pretty common drug, and it's one of the most effective non-steroidal anti-inflammatories that we have for dogs. The dose is initially 0.2 milligrams per kilogram. I'm sorry about the metric numbers for people that don't work in metric. This is best given with food. It's given once a day. That's the dose for the first day. After the first day, you would halve that dose. So you would give 0.1 milligrams per kilogram with food once daily. Mobic is the human form of meloxicam, and it's fine. You can absolutely use it. The problem with Mobic is that it comes in quite set tablet strengths of 7.5 and 15 milligrams, and It can be difficult to accurately cut up these tablets into an appropriate dose for your dog. So if your dog happens to be exactly half a tablet, good luck to you, that's fine, there's no problem using it. But a lot of dogs are in between, and if you get the dose of Mobic wrong, you can lead to side effects. So a lot of people will use the doggy form of meloxicam, which is called Metacam, which comes in a liquid form, and you can just draw up an amount that you need to use. So it's much safer and much more effective dosing. The third drug that is sometimes used in people is called Etodolac, and it's a good anti-inflammatory medication. It's fine. Lodine is the human name, or Etogesic is the common vet name. The dose is 10 to 15 milligrams per kilogram once a day. The main problem is similar to Metacam. It's just hard to get the dosage right, especially in small dogs. You're often better using the veterinary form, and you should never give Etodolac in combination with aspirin. Now, the painkillers are a different class of drug. Again, the most common ones would be acetaminophen or paracetamol, as well as codeine. And you could add tramadol to that list. Tylenol is a common combination of acetaminophen and codeine. These drugs do seem to work quite well together for people, and in fact they do work quite well for animals. Out of all the things I mentioned on this little video, this is probably the safest option that you have if you really do need to give something in an emergency for your dog for pain. The tablets come in 60 milligrams of codeine with 300 milligrams of acetaminophen, and that's a fixed dose between those two drugs. And the dose that we give a dog is based off the codeine, and you would give 1 to 2 milligrams per kilogram of codeine for your dog. Acetaminophen has been associated with numerous side effects in dogs. It's not a drug that most vets feel particularly comfortable with, and you would be well advised to speak to your vet, even in an out of hours service vet, to make sure that he is happy for you to use this drug in your specific situation. Tramadol is a good drug as well, and the dose would be around about 2 milligrams per kilogram. I mention these drugs to get you out of a bind. These drugs are good to use in an emergency, but you should speak to your vet as soon as you can, and if possible speak to your vet before you give these drugs. You can find more information on dog arthritis on my blog and in my free ebook, The Dog Arthritis Survival Guide, which you can download for free from my blog. Thanks for listening.